Captain Mason Ward had seen many strange things in space. He had flown through storms of plasma, escaped from gravity traps, even shared drinks with a six-eyed pirate from the planet Glork. But nothing had prepared him for this. He stood at the edge of the throne room on the alien starship Velzura Prime, trying not to sweat. Everything around him sparkled walls made of glowing crystals, silver vines hanging from the ceiling, and floating lights that moved like fireflies. And then came the sound again. A scream, high-pitched, sharp, so powerful it made the floor vibrate and his bones ache. Mason flinched. "That's the baby?" A tall alien with golden armor and skin like dark marble nodded. "Yes, that is Prince Ghielin, firstborn of Queen Zelthara." Mason adjusted his jacket. It was too warm in here. Sounds like the baby's lungs could crack a planet. The alien didn't smile. Zalari never smiled. Another scream rang out. Lights flickered. Somewhere, a control panel exploded in sparks. The alien turned and gestured. "Her Majesty will see you now." Mason took a deep breath and walked into the throne chamber. Queen Zelthara sat on a throne made of living crystal. She was tall over 8 feet, tanned. Her body shimmered with shifting colors, like oil on water. She wore a crown of floating gems, and her long arms were wrapped in silver bands. Her eyes glowed violet. In her arms, wrapped in soft fabric, was the source of the noise. A tiny alien baby, squirming and crying like a star, was dying. Mason stared at the baby, then at the queen. Zelthara looked at him. Her voice was calm but heavy, like distant thunder. "Are you the human called Mason Ward?" He swallowed. "Yes, Your Majesty. They tell me you have calmed many creatures before. Beasts, infants, even a lunatic AI. Is that true?" Mason scratched his head. "I guess. I used to babysit my niece. And I once talked a military robot out of vaporizing a cargo ship." The queen tilted her head. "My child has not slept since birth. His cries are now damaging nearby systems. His voice tears through space-time. Even the royal singers failed to soothe him." Mason tried to nod respectfully, though his ears were ringing. "If you can calm him," she said, "I will offer you my eternal thanks." Then she paused. "And if you wish, I shall make you my consort, husband to the queen." Of the 10 nebulas, Mason blinked. "Wait, what?" The queen didn't repeat herself. She held the baby out. The little creature had wide black eyes, for tiny arms and glowing blue skin. Its mouth opened again. The scream hit Mason like a hammer. He took a slow step forward. "All right, let's see what I can do." Mason had faced space pirates, angry warlords, and malfunctioning androids. None of them had been this stressful. He held Shellen awkwardly in his arms. The baby was warm and pulsing with strange energy. Every time he wiggled, gravity bent around him just a little. "Okay, little guy," Mason said softly. "Let's try something simple." He started humming. A simple melody. Something from Eartha Lullaby his mother used to sing. The words didn't matter. It's just the sound. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the baby blinked. The scream faded a little. Mason kept humming, swaying side to side. "Twinkle, twinkle, little star, ... double quotes." The baby hiccuped. Then a gurgle, a soft one, almost like a giggle. The queen stood. Her eyes widened. "The alien guards tend," Mason kept singing. His voice was rough, off-key, but the baby's cries grew softer. The vibrations in the air stopped. The ship stopped shaking. Shalene yawned, and then, to everyone's shock, closed his eyes and slept. The room was silent. Mason stood in the middle, holding the now sleeping alien baby in his arms. Did I just do it?" The queen walked forward slowly. Her crystal sandals made no sound. She looked at her child, then at Mason. "You have done what none of my people could," she said. Her voice was soft now. "You calmed the storm screamer. You brought peace to the child of stars." Mason gently handed the baby back. "Yeah, I guess I did." The queen cradled her son with glowing pride. You are owed a gift beyond measure, she said. A place among my court, wealth beyond imagining, or ... She looked him directly in the eyes. Marriage, as I promised. Mason coughed. About that, I thought you were joking. The Queen of Nebulas does not joke. Mason rubbed the back of his neck. Right. Later, in a smaller room filled with soft lights and fruit-smelling air, Mason sat on a floating chair with a cold drink in his hand. It sparkled blue and tasted like lemonade and mint. A voice buzzed beside him. Irithel, at your service, said a floating orb of gas and light. I am your assigned bond advisor. My what? Since the Queen has offered you her hand? You must now learn our ways, said the orb. Courtship, union rights, and how to avoid insulting nobles with your human habits. Mason leaned back. Look, I didn't come here to marry anyone. I just wanted to stop a baby from screaming. Holes in the universe. And now you are a legend, Irithel said cheerfully. The human who calmed the impossible child. I sang a lullaby, Mason muttered. That is now sacred lore, said Irithel. Mason groaned. Somewhere behind the walls, a soft baby laugh echoed. It felt warm, like a sunrise. Back in the throne chamber, Queen Zelthera watched her son sleep. For the first time since his birth, there was peace in her heart. She whispered a silent vow. The human has soothed my child, but his journey has only begun. Captain Mason Ward had just made history by singing a baby to sleep. The baby wasn't human. He was Gelanine, the newborn son of Queen Zelthera, ruler of the 10 Nebulas. And this wasn't just any baby. Jalan had a voice that could bend metal, break machines, and tear open cracks in space. Now, for the first time since his birth, the child was quiet and Mason was stuck. He didn't know what was more terrifying, the baby's screams or the fact that the Queen of the Universe had just proposed marriage. Mason sat in a beautiful lounge on the royal ship, Velzura Prime. Everything around him sparkled floating candles. Music in the air, soft cushions that changed color based on mood. He still didn't know how to sit properly in an anti-gravity chair. Across from him hovered Irithel, his official bond advisor. Irithel was a glowing gas creature, like a jellyfish made of smoke and lightning. So Mason said, "Can you explain this marriage thing again?" Irithel buzzed. "You soothed the royal child. This has never been done before. The Queen is bound by ancient law to reward you with the highest honor possible. Marriage," Mason muttered. "Right. It is not just marriage," Irithel said. "It is soul bonding, life partnership, shared honor and power, and shared parenting. Mason sat up so fast the chair flipped him sideways. "Of course," Irithel replied. "You have already bonded with the prince. He laughed at you. It's a rare and powerful sign. I'm not ready to be anyone's dad," Mason shouted. From somewhere down the hall came a soft baby giggle. The ship hummed in response. Irithel floated closer. "Whether you want it or not, the child is already connected to you, emotionally, psychically." Mason groaned and rubbed his eyes. "Great. I come to space to fix a sound problem, and now I'm engaged to an alien queen and co-parenting a space god baby." "You're welcome," Irithel said cheerfully. Meanwhile, in the royal court chamber, the queen stood with her advisors. She held her son gently while looking at a massive star map. "This human," one advisor said, "is unpredictable." "Has no royal blood," said another. "No titles, no lineage." "But he calmed the child," said the queen firmly. "And I saw something in him. Kindness, courage." The room was silent. Then from the back came a cold voice. "Or weakness." Everyone turned. It was Lord Tav, the Queen's cousin and leader of the war fleet. He wore dark armor and carried a long blade that glowed faintly red. "The human is a distraction," Tav growled. "We need strength. We need warriors, not singers." The Queen's eyes narrowed. "He is more than that. We'll see," Tav said and left the room. The next day, Mason was given a tour of the UHL Starship. It was massive, bigger than any Earth city. There were gardens, libraries, science labs, and even a zoo with creatures from 100 worlds. As they walked, Irithyll explained everything. "This is where you will live if you accept the Queen's offer," it said. Mason stared at a giant window showing the swirling blue of a nearby gas planet. "And if I say no?" Irithyll flickered. "That has never happened before." Mason stopped. "What happens to people who turn down alien queens?" Irithyll changed color nervously. "Let's not find out." Suddenly the hallway shook. Sirens. Blared lights flashed red. "What now?" Mason asked. A guard rushed toward them. "Lord Tav has challenged the human to a trial of honor in the arena." "The what now?" Mason asked, panicking. "The arena," Irithyll said calmly. "It's tradition. He wants to prove you are unworthy." "And what happens if I lose?" "You will be removed from the Queen's presence. Maybe ... vaporized." Mason froze. "Awesome." An hour later, Mason stood in a glowing circular arena. Thousands of aliens watched from high seats. The floor changed colors under his feet, shifting from metal to sand to water and back again. Across from him stood Lord Tav, holding a long glowing blade and wearing full battle armor. Mason wore a borrowed space tunic and held a wooden stick. "This is a joke, right?" he asked Irithyll, who floated nervously nearby. "You may not win with strength," Irithyll said, "but maybe you can win with heart." "Great," Mason mumbled. "Classic human underdog plot." The Queen watched from her throne above. Her expression was unreadable. The match began. Tav charged like a storm. Mason dodged, rolled, and ran. The crowd laughed. Tav swung his blade. Sparks flew. Mason ducked and tripped over a glowing rock. "I don't want to fight you," Mason shouted. "Then you've already lost," Tav growled. But Mason was thinking. He remembered what Irithyll said. He didn't need to win with strength. He stood up and faced the warrior. "You think I'm weak because I sing to babies?" Mason shouted. "I calm the most powerful infant in the galaxy using a lullaby and kindness." "What did you do?" Yell at him, the crowd murmured. "I faced something terrifying, a child that could rip holes in the universe, and I held him in my arms. That's not weakness. That's courage." Tav hesitated. Mason stepped forward. "You want strength? Try being gentle in front of a galaxy that worships war. Try loving a baby so much you'll risk your life for his smile." The arena was silent. Tav slowly lowered his blade. Then he stepped back. "I yield," he said. The crowd gasped. Mason blinked. "Wait, I won." Tav bowed his head. "You are not weak, human. You are strange, but not weak." Later that evening, Mason stood outside the royal nursery. Inside, Queen Zelthara was holding her son and humming softly. "You were brave today," she said as he entered. "You didn't need to fight. You showed the court your spirit." Mason sat beside her. "I don't know if I can be a king or whatever. I'm just a guy from Earth. I'm still learning how to use your toilets." The Queen laughed softly. It was the first time he had ever seen her smile. "You don't need to be a king," she said. "You just need to be you." The baby reached out toward Mason. He gently took the small glowing hand. Shaleen cooed. Mason sighed. "I guess I'm already attached." The Queen looked at him. Her eyes were soft now. "Then maybe the stars chose well." Outside the window, stars shimmered across space, but inside that small room, something warmer grew. A strange, unexpected bond between a human, an alien queen, and a baby that once screamed holes through time. Captain Mason Ward didn't know what scared him more: giant space beasts, angry alien warlords, or a baby with godlike lungs. But now, he'd gotten used to all three. In fact, Prince Galanine, the royal baby who once screamed holes into space, now smiled every time Mason walked into the room. Sometimes Mason even sang Earth lullabies to him. It worked like magic. The Queen, Zelthara, watched with interest every time. Her sharp eyes softened when she saw Mason hold her son like he was his own. Mason still wasn't sure how this happened. One moment, he was fixing an audio crisis. The next, he was living in a floating palace, learning alien court traditions, and possibly, maybe, falling for a queen. But peace never lasted long in space, especially not when there were jealous enemies watching from the shadows. Late one night, alarms echoed across the royal starship Velzura Prime. Mason sat up in bed, nearly falling off the edge. What now? Lights turned red. Walls hummed with strange energy. Suddenly, Irithel, his advisor, floated into the room, glowing yellow with panic. Emergency, it buzzed. The palace has been breached. Mason jumped up, still in his soft space pajamas. By what? Not what, who, said Irithel. The Draxery Raiders. They've taken the royal nursery. Mason's heart stopped. The baby? They have him. Down in the heart of the ship, chaos filled the halls. Queen Zelthara stood at the command deck, her long robes flowing like living flame. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned like twin suns. They took my child, she said, and they will pay. Beside her, Lord Tav slammed a fist into his chest. Give me warriors. I will retrieve him, said the queen. This needs care, not just war. Her voice lowered. We need him. Minutes later, Mason was running through the halls, half-dressed, carrying a sonic pacifier and a glowing diaper bag. Let me get this straight, he said, panting. Space. Pirates broke into the most guarded ship in the galaxy. To kidnap a baby? Irithel floated beside him. Prince Shelyn is a symbol of power. A weapon. His voice could tear ships apart. In the wrong hands? Mason cursed under his breath. I need a better job. They reached the launch bay. Small, fast scout ship waited. You'll need stealth, said Tav, handing Mason a translator earpiece and a stun blaster. And maybe luck. Great, Mason muttered. Let's go rescue a baby. The Draxery Raiders were a vicious group, half metal, full of bad decisions. They had taken the baby to a hidden asteroid base deep inside the Blood Mist Belt, a dangerous area full of rogue comets and red plasma clouds. Mason flew fast and low, dodging debris and asteroids. He could hear faint crying through the ship's comms, Shalina's cries. He landed in silence and crept through the dark corridors of the enemy base. The halls were damp, metal walls covered in alien graffiti and glowing slime. Guards stomped past him, big creatures with scales and laser cannons. Mason held his breath and slipped behind them. He followed the sound of the crying. It grew louder, sharper, almost dangerous. Just hold on, kid, Mason whispered. Daddies. Wait, no, don't say that. Finally, he reached the chamber. Inside, the baby floated inside a glowing energy bubble. Round him, Draxery scientists adjusted machines. This child is perfect, one hissed. With his voice, we can destroy cities. Planets. Just wants his bottle, Mason muttered. Then he stepped forward, blaster raised. All right, lizard brains. Step away from the kid. They turned, shocked. A human. Yep, Mason said, and this human is here to take back his screaming bundle of joy. The baby saw Mason on, smiled, then screamed. But this time, the scream only hit the Draxery. They clutched their heads. Ow! Fell to their knees and howled. Mason laughed. Guess he missed me. He rushed forward, pressed a button on the pacifier, and popped it into the air bubble. The device floated to the baby, who grabbed it, sucked twice, and stopped crying. Silence. The guards lay stunned. Mason picked up the baby, cradled him, and whispered, Let's get you home, big guy, Shalyn cooed. Back on Velzura Prime, the queen waited when the ship returned. She rushed forward faster than any guard. Mason stepped out, covered in alien slime. Scratches on his face, but holding a smiling baby. The queen gasped softly, Eileen. She took her child, kissed his head, and then looked at Mason. You risked everything. Mason smiled tiredly. He was crying. What choice did I have? You are credible, she said, eyes full of wonder. Then before he could answer, she pulled him into a hug. Not royal. Not formal, just real. Later, after the baby was safe, clean, sleeping in a soundproof royal crib, Mason sat with Queen Zelthara in the garden dome. Stars shone above. Alien plants glowed gently around them. "You didn't have to come," she said. "But I did," Mason replied. "Because he's not just your son, he's mine too. In some weird alien law kind of way." She smiled. "Not just by law. We chose you." Mason looked at her. "Did you?" The queen looked away for a moment, then back at him. "I did." Silence passed between them. Then her hand touched his. Mason didn't pull away. In the shadows, far from the garden, Tav watched from a distance. He spoke quietly into a come. "The bond is growing," he said. "Prepare the next phase." Captain Mason Ward never thought he would live in a royal palace, or wear robes made of starlight silk, or be called father of the future emperor in 50 different languages. And yet, here he was, living on the royal ship Velzura Prime, engaged sort of to Queen Zelthara, spending his days trying to understand alien diapers and diplomacy. The baby. Colony now giggled every time Mason entered the room. Mason had earned respect in the court. After saving the child from the Draxri raiders, nobles and guards alike gave him respectful nods. Some even called him protector of the crying star. Not everyone was happy, especially not Lord Tav. Tav stood in a dark chamber, speaking to a figure hidden by shadows. "He has won her heart," Tav said bitterly. "And the child's trust? Soon he will have her throne." A cold voice replied, "Then it is time. Begin the plan." Tav bowed. "As you command." The next day, the queen invited Mason to the High Council chamber. The room was round, full of silver thrones, glowing pillars, and a long floating table made of crystal. Alien nobles sat around the table. Some had wings, some had horns. One had no mouth but spoke through lights on its forehead. Mason sat beside the queen, nervous and sweating. He wore ceremonial robes that felt too tight and smelled like glowing perfume. Queen Zelthara stood. "Honored council," she said. "This human has proven his heart, strength, and loyalty. Yes. He has saved my child and earned my trust. Today, I ask you to approve a royal bond between us." Whispers spread through the chamber. One noble raised a hand. "Right, but he is not of noble blood." Another hissed, "He is not even of this galaxy." Queen Zelthara lifted her chin. "He is more than noble. He is brave. He is kind. And most of all, he is chosen by the child." The council murmured again. But before a vote could begin, the doors burst open. Tav marched in. "I bring proof that the human is a spy." Everyone froze. Mason stood. "What?" Tav threw a small orb into the air. It played a hologram of Mason, alone in his quarters, talking into a communicator in the fake video. Mason said, "Once I marry the queen, Earth will take control of the 10 nebulas. Begin the invasion plan." Gasps filled the room. "That's not real?" Mason shouted, "I never said that." "Is a perfect voice match," Tav said. "Your human trickery is clever." The queen looked shocked. Hurt Mason turned to her. "You know me, I would never do this." But she looked away. I need time," she whispered. Guards stepped forward. Tav smiled. "Take him to the ice cells." Ice cells were deep below the ship, cold, silent, lonely. Mason sat in a corner, his hands glowing with energy cuffs. "I can't believe this," he said. "Framed by a lizard in armor, typical." Suddenly, a glowing vent opened. Rithel floated in. "You shouldn't be here," Mason said. "Neither should you," Irithel replied. "I know that video was fake. Tell the queen. She won't listen. Not yet. But someone else might." A small pod lowered from the vent. Inside it was baby Xiaoline. Mason panicked. He brought the baby to a prison cell. "Are you crazy?" "He refused to sleep without you," Irithel said. Cried so hard the walls started bending. The baby floated into Mason's arms and instantly smiled. Then he started to hum. The air shimmered. A soft glow formed around Mason's cuffs and melted them clean off. Mason stared. He unlocked my cuffs with a lullaby. Child trusts you more than anyone, Erithel said. That proves your innocence. Mason stood. Then let's go prove it to the galaxy. But it wasn't that easy. Tav had already begun a royal takeover. He claimed the queen was too emotional to rule and placed her under protective command. The palace was now under military lockdown. When Mason and Irithel reached the throne hall, they saw her surrounded by guards. Her crown had been removed. Tav stood proudly at the center, holding a sword of command. She's not your queen anymore, he said coldly. The child will be trained as a weapon, and you're an escaped prisoner. Mason stepped forward, holding Jalin close. Let her go, he said. This baby isn't a weapon. He's just a kid. Tav sneered. He has power, and power must be controlled. The baby started to cry. Mason gently bounced him. Hey, little guy, it's okay. Show them the truth, he began. To sing a soft earth lullaby, the baby's voice joined in a perfect hum. Like glowing music made of stars, the air pulsed. Lights flickered. Guards fell to their knees, not in pain, but in peace. Even Tav staggered back. What is this? The baby's hum grew louder, but warm, not violent. Every person in the room felt it. Love, calm, connection. Connection. The queen stood slowly, eyes wide. He's choosing. Mason looked at the council. You think I'm a spy? He said. Then ask the one who knows me best, his baby. He knows who I am. Shellen floated out of Mason's arms and hovered in front of the queen. Then he pointed right at Mason. The room glowed. The royal crown floated from the floor, placed itself on the queen's head again. Then a second crown, smaller. Silver appeared above Mason's head. The council gasped. The child has chosen, Irithel whispered. By ancient law, the bond is confirmed. Mason blinked. Wait, does that mean we're married now? The queen stepped forward, eyes shining. It means we're united, and nothing can break that. Tav snarled. It changes. Nothing. He lunged, sword raised, but before he could reach Mason, Stilin let out one final hum. It wasn't loud, but it was powerful. Kevu was lifted into the air and wrapped in glowing sound threads. He floated, frozen. The baby giggled. Everyone stared, stunned. Mason gave a half smile. I guess that's a timeout in baby language. Later in the royal garden, after the chaos had ended, Mason sat on a floating bench with the queen. The baby floated beside them, snoring gently, surrounded by soft lights. You've changed. Everything, Zelthera said. I didn't mean to, Mason replied. I just sang a song. She touched his hand. And through that song, you healed a kingdom. Mason looked at her. So what now? Am I like your king? You're my partner, she said. My equal. And more importantly, you're his father now. Mason looked at the baby, then back at her. He smiled. Well, I better learn how to change royal diapers then. What? She laughed softly. Above them, stars danced. Captain Mason Ward used to fix broken radios back on Earth. Now, he was consort to a galactic queen, stepfather to a superpowered alien baby, and leader of a royal alliance that spanned 5 galaxies, and somehow he still didn't know how to hold a fork with 3 tips. Why does everything in this palace glow? He muttered, poking a floating fruit on his plate. Queen Zelthara laughed from across the table. You'll get used to it. Baby Jalin floated nearby in his little hover cradle, humming softly and chewing on a crown-shaped teether. Life aboard the royal ship, Elzura Prime, had become peaceful, too peaceful, because peace never lasted. Long in space, that morning, Irithel floated into the dining chamber with urgent news. There's a fleet approaching, the advisor buzzed. Earth ships. Mason sat up straight. Earth. My Earth. The queen nodded slowly. I felt this day would come. Mason stood. Bring them in. Let me speak to them. Within hours, a massive Earth command ship hovered beside the royal. Fleet. Its hull bore the words, U.S. Pathfinder, United Earth Alliance aboard the ship. Admiral Rachel Kincaid appeared on the screen, a tall, sharp woman with silver hair and a cold smile. Well, Captain Ward, she said. You've made quite the name for yourself. I'm not a captain anymore, Mason replied. I'm a royal consort. She raised an eyebrow. We noticed. You're living in an alien palace, wearing shiny robes, and married to a queen. And, Mason asked, we're here to bring you home, along with the alien child. The queen narrowed her eyes. He is my son. This is home. Kincaid's voice hardened. Earth doesn't trust alien empires with weapons that can tear holes in reality. That child is a danger. Mason stepped forward. He's a baby, not a weapon. Maybe, Kincaid said. But Earth isn't taking chances. Soon. A meeting was arranged between Earth leaders and the Royal Council aboard a neutral moon station. Mason walked into the great chamber with Zell, Thar beside him, and Jelenine, floating in his cradle. The Earth team wore clean white suits. In stiff expressions, the alien nobles glowed, buzzed, or floated silently. Admiral Kincaid stood in the center and raised her voice. Let's be clear. Earth wants protection. If this baby becomes dangerous, we're all at risk. We propose he be raised on Earth's under supervision. No, Zelthara said firmly. He is my heir. He belongs with his people. We can't trust that. You don't have to, Mason said. You have to trust me. There was silence. Kincaid stepped close. And who are you now, Mason? A father? A king? A hostage? I'm a bridge, he said. Between Earth and this galaxy, I'm the reason your fleets aren't already at war with her armada. He pointed to the baby. This child saved lives. He calmed soldiers. He stopped a warlord. Not with guns, with a song. Some Earth leaders shifted uncomfortably. Kincaid said nothing. Then Mason walked forward and placed a device on the table. A simple recording cube. He pressed it. The chamber filled with Giolina's gentle hum, soft, beautiful, pure, as it played. The lights in the room pulsed gently. Tension faded, brows softened, heart slowed. Mason looked around. That is the sound of peace. This baby isn't a threat. He's a miracle. Mason stood alone on the balcony of the moon station, looking out into the stars. Zelthara joined him quietly. You did well, she said. He sighed. I don't know if they'll accept it. They will. In time, he looked at her. But what if Earth doesn't back down? She gently touched his hand. Then we protect our family together. Mason turned toward her, you know? This started with me trying to calm a crying baby. She smiled. And now you've calmed entire worlds. Back on Velzura Prime, Mason helped tuck Jelani into his sleeping cradle. The child giggled and pulled Mason's finger before falling asleep. Glowing softly, Mason sat beside the cradle and whispered, You're going to change the galaxy, kiddo. But then, the lights flickered. An alarm echoed across the ship. Irithel appeared instantly. Intruders. Unknown teleport signature detected on the bridge. Mason and Zelthara rushed to the command deck. There, standing tall in dark armor, was an old enemy thought to be gone, Lord Tav. Escaped. Alive. Furious. I warned you, he growled. The child will destroy us all. He raised a strange device pulsing with stolen alien energy. You won't control him, he roared. I'll end him before he ends us. Mason jumped forward. No. A beam of energy shot from the device straight toward the nursery. But Gialin woke up and he sang, not a cry, not a scream, a song. Powerful, ancient, pure. The beam dissolved in the air. Alf screamed as the sound wrapped around him, lifting him, trapping him in light. Then silence. Tav vanished, locked inside a containment orb made of sound waves. The ship fell still. Everyone stared. Shalene floated into the bridge and gently reached for Mason. Mason held him close. He saved us, he whispered. He protected us all. Days later, peace was restored. Earth agreed to a shared treaty, allowing Mason to act as ambassador between worlds. Shallan would stay with his mother, but visit Earth. Learning both sides of his heritage, Mason stood before the largest crowd in royal history, humans, aliens, all species together. He wore a simple robe. No armor, no weapons, just a father, a leader, human who had crossed stars not with war, but with love. He spoke calmly. I came from a small planet, fixing radios and chasing quiet nights. But sometimes the galaxy needs someone who just listens, someone who holds a crying child instead of reaching for a gun. He looked at the queen. At first I was speechless. I have a voice, a family, a future. He held the baby high. Is Prince Shallan. He sings for peace. The crowd rose and cheered. Lights danced across the sky, and in the quiet that followed, the baby's soft hum carried across the stars. Epilogue. Legend of the Singing Starin, the years to come stories. Spread across galaxies, they spoke of a human who calmed a godchild with lullabies, of a queen who chose love over war, and of a baby whose song became the sound of peace. The tale was told in many languages, but the message was always the same. Sometimes the strongest voice comes from the gentlest heart, and thus the name of Mason Ward was written among the stars, not as a conqueror, but as the one who listened.